always fascinating to hear about how diverse perspectives come together. And I think, Aditya, that we are ready, right, to proceed with our next panel discussion, and we will dive deeper into the discussions.
Yes, because between valuations, M&A processes, and CRP dealings, me, Manisha, and all other team members spend countless hours discussing how businesses evolve, sometimes through careful planned strategy and sometimes through planned necessity. Today's panel explores exactly that intersection, the intersection between innovation, leadership, and scaling in these dynamic times.
So over to you now.
Thank you. In Trump era, diversity is no longer as it used to be. But in my panel, I have a very diverse and mixed group. I have somebody who has run a company like Exide, a company which we all are proud of, from Kolkata, needs no introduction. Then I have somebody from the infra and hospital sector. And then we move on to somebody who's running a great startup, in spite of being a chartered accountant, and and she brings a diversity, being the other gender. And then we have Alkesh. Recently, Alkesh is in news because of his book, Live Evil. And I have gone through this book partly, and I'll surely suggest everyone that it's worth a read, especially for entrepreneurs. So with such a diverse and well-informed group, I have a task at my hand. And let me start with Atulji first. And I'll inform my panelists, I will be very, because the theme is innovation, I will be very innovative with my questions. So you may get some out of syllabus questions, please be prepared for that. Okay. Yes. There's no syllabus for entrepreneurship. That's the advantage of having an author on your panel. So, sir, you have been a wealth creator in the past 10 decades. Your company has been listed. And, and there is so much dynamism happening. So how do you think, promoters and entrepreneurs should look at business in this, what we call the VUCA world? I'm sure everybody is familiar with this world now. So how do you see how two people tread with this uncertainty, especially within this Trump era, and I don't know what will happen post-Trump era? How to navigate through these turbulent times?
See, I think we are in two sectors, infrastructure and healthcare. Both are based on domestic consumption. So for us, most of these uncertainties, especially with respect to the US, is not a great deal of concern. We have some international exposure, which does lead to some stress on the balance sheets of our subsidiaries in the Africa as such. But I think in India, as a general theme, domestic consumption is so high that if you can address the domestic consumption itself, you will be addressing a large part of your business and do not need to look out as much. We are an economy which is growing quite fast. If you see, yesterday also they have declared the GDP growth to be almost 7.6%, which shows that we are one of the larger economies which are growing at a very rapid pace. Having said that, I think that businesses need to be resilient, build up some reserves in terms of their balance sheet, and ensure that the vagaries of whether it is interest costs, whether it is these tariffs, etc., they are able to absorb in the long term.
Excellent. So the key message here is that, so far we were always saying that exports, we should go global, we should have exports. Now the theme in the last few years, and especially in the few budgets post-COVID, I would say, is to make your business dependent on domestic consumption, which we can control. Excellent insight, Atulji. And I think this is something that, every entrepreneur and this thing can take forward. Another country, China, is also dependent on their domestic consumption. So, Subirji, thank you for accepting our invitation and being here, sir. You have run a fairly large company, and at the head of such a company, there are businesses in such companies which, there are verticals which underperform, which do not do well. And so how does when somebody is heading a large organization, how do you manage this kind of a situation where some of your verticals are not doing it? MNCs are very ruthless with this kind of, but in India we don't have that culture of shutting down things or taking a call. So how do you tread through this kind of uncertainties?
Yeah. So, the Indian mindset is a little different from the typical MNC mindset, the hire and fire kind of mindset. In India, we generally follow the principle of being nurture and taskmasters. So while you are a taskmaster, you also provide some nurturance to your team. This is, management theory also stems a lot from the way we have shaped our family values over a period of time. So most Indian companies I have found, particularly which have grown in India, follow this spirit of nurturance along with very objective target setting and so on and so forth. So it's obvious, just like in a family, you have 4 kids, all 4 kids are not equally brilliant or not equally competent at everything. So you tend to support the one which is not doing so well. So similarly in organizations, in principle you do that, but the way you do it can differ from organizations to organizations. In large organizations, nowadays it's quite common to find a cell being created. These cells are known by various names, but basically you shift people who are not performing or underperforming to this cell, and this cell, the HR actually takes ownership of this cell, and over a period of time, maybe 6 months, 1 year, provide all the inputs which perhaps are necessary for that person to scale up to the normal speed. And once that happens, then that person is, sent back to the department that he or she was working, or maybe to some another department. So this is one way in which organizations address this issue. Also, I have found from experience that whenever a person is not doing well, now I, principally believe that we are all born with certain capabilities. Now, if a person is not able to perform, then perhaps there is an incongruence between the capability or the skill set and the job that he is being asked to do. So sometimes having a chat with that person as to what he wants to do, which are the things which actually interests him, sometimes in my experience has revealed that perhaps, for example, he's in production, but maybe his interest really lies in commercial or in buying, materials department and so on and so forth. So a shift like that from one department to another also has, provided results. So these are some of the methods by which I have seen how organizations deal with underperformers.
Excellent. This family values is what differentiates Indian business, So somebody who has led a, totally professionally driven company, when he talks about family values and he says something like कि अगर बच्चा कमजोर है तो HR को बोल के उसका 2 extra tuition लगा दो. With that kind of a mindset, it's a fantastic thing. Our Indian values don't change much with business, no matter how much Western exposure and education we have. Fantastic insight, Subir. Moving on to Vineeta. Vineeta, you have transited from being a chartered accountant, you are a chartered accountant, but from being an employee, IBM, Accenture, to entrepreneurship. And I was also part of EY for a long time. And I think, and inside every employee there is a budding entrepreneur. Some take the plunge, some don't, some keep waiting for the right time. So what is your advice to people to make a vision for their 2030 and make this plunge? You are the best person, having been there, done that. You are the best person to advise them. You're pretty young. So what is your advice and how they should tread this journey from being a employee to being an entrepreneur?
Thank you, Pawan, for calling me young. So that means my skincare brand is doing well. Thank you so much for that. So I'm not so young. My son is in college. He's 21 years old. So yeah. So moving on to your question. So I think this journey has been, very fulfilling on many fronts. I always tell people that in 20 years of my work experience, so initial 4 years was, 3-4 years was with industry when I started my career in Bangalore. Then I moved to Calcutta. I started my consulting firm and I still continue to lead that consulting firm with my partner Vikram Khaitan. And then during COVID, I started working on my passion project, something that I always wanted to do, but obviously never had the time and bandwidth because a consultancy job is very demanding in terms of time. But if I have to rate my life's learnings and I sit here in front of you all people, so that's because of the journey of entrepreneurship of last 5 years. I kind of transitioned from consulting to a consumer business. But what I've learned in these last 5 years probably is 5x of what I learned in my previous 15 years. So, I'm so happy that, I have somebody sitting next to me who's been my guide and mentor in this journey, Alkesh. I think इसको जितना मैंने परेशान किया है, अपने घर वालों को भी नहीं किया होगा, किसी को भी नहीं किया होगा, investors को भी नहीं किया होगा. So I'm so happy that Alkesh is here right next to me, and he has guided me right from day one. I've troubled him so much during COVID times when he didn't want to step out of the house, but then I pulled him कि नहीं Alkesh, you have to help me with this. So this has been very fulfilling, and हमेशा we always discuss कि हमेशा लोग ये बात करते हैं कि what is the right time. So actually कोई right time होता नहीं है. You just have to take that leap of faith, take that plunge, and then make it work. So this is my approach for whatever I have done or built in my life. Right now also we are working on a couple of new projects, projects which are very, very ambitious, and they still give me a lot of anxiety in spite of me considering myself a workaholic. I still work 16-18 hours a day, but still मुझे अभी भी बहुत anxiety होती है. But still I have to do something, new, and keep challenging myself, because that's how you evolve as an entrepreneur. So whatever I had learned in my previous 15 years, I implemented that in building my brand. Most important thing coming from a finance background is that, I had capital discipline in me, because most of the businesses that we see in today's time, they fail because they don't manage their cash flow properly. There's no working capital discipline. So coming from a CA background definitely helped me, that I kept a check on my unit economics. We kept a tab on our capital. So that has been the journey. So for anyone wanting to take a plunge, आपको जो भी करना है, right now is the right time. There's no right time. आपको जब करना है, just do it then, and that is the right time. Yeah, thank you.
Excellent. So time is now. There is Amazon, you will find a clock where instead of 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, everywhere it is written now. And I really love that clock, and I recommend that to people, that the only time that we have is now. So that's an excellent insight. If karna hai to abhi karo, take the plunge, manage your finances. We all are financial professionals. And if we can't manage finances, I don't think anybody else can. With that, I'll move to Alkesh. Alkesh has so many hats on this thing. So Alkesh, we have learned from Atulji how to manage, VUCA world, and how a large organization works and how a startup works. One of the themes of today is scale. And since you help so many startups, how do businesses scale? Because typically it happens with most organizations that after a point they get too comfortable with their existing clients, existing structure, and certain amount of fixed income, fixed customers starts coming in. And then they try to scale, or they want to scale, but they are not able to. So what is your suggestion, advice, insights to such people who have, plateaued or not growing as fast as they would like to?
So, first of all, thank you for being for calling me here. There were a couple of questions within one question that you asked, Pawan. So you said key people or startups or traditional businesses, when they plateau or when they are growing.
Just increase the volume a little.
Yeah. So as you mentioned, so first of all, they want to scale, but they can't. So I think I'll like to peel off a few layers here. First of all, saying that I want to scale doesn't mean you want to scale. So when most of the time I meet people in boardrooms, maybe startups or maybe traditional businesses, we say we want to scale, but inherently we say we want to protect what we have already built. So sounds like a very thin line, but when your focus is too much on what you have already built to save that, you can't always take the kind of risk you want to build for tomorrow. So, and in today's world, which is so hyper-dynamic, you mentioned VUCA, there are a lot of other acronyms which are actually making it a little classy, look like, something crazy is going on. I would say, in simple line, whatever you are doing today as a business, whether you are a startup or a large enterprise, are you building for the reality of yesterday? Or you are building for the possibility of tomorrow? Always ask this question. And if you can take that pause and answer it to yourself, I think that's where you begin your very different journey. So scale will always ask you to stretch. It'll give you growing pains, like to a kid. जब बड़ा होता है तो growing pains होने हैं. So are you willing? After a certain stage, we don't want that growing pain. We don't want pain at all. I'm making, let's say, XYZ crores, it's fine. So I want to save it. I don't want to invest that, but still I want to scale. That doesn't really happen. So you have to go all in every time. So if you see large enterprises like Reliance, so maybe they have, so every time you see their next project is larger than their all previous projects cumulatively have been done. Then when they launch Geo, just try to see the kind of value, the amount they have put in and poured in. So whether it be effort, whether it be money, whether it be time, whether it be people, you have to assemble everything together for tomorrow, not for the past. I think that's very, very important.
Excellent insights. Enjoy the growing pain. And if you read, I think right now this book is at the top of his mind. And this book is all about, live evil. So if you have to enjoy the pains of growth, you have to enjoy the discomfort, growth cannot happen from your comfort zone. Growth has to happen outside your comfort zone. We all know that. But how many want to practice that? So once you have grown something, maybe you have to, in fact, I always, in some of my presentations to entrepreneurs, I have always discussed that an entrepreneur has all the three roles to play, Brahma, Vishnu and Mahesh. We get Brahma, the creator, we create a business, then we move out to maintenance. This ability to move out of, destroy, not destroy in the sense, but transform, move out of what you have already created. The Shiva role is where most Indian entrepreneurs, even at the highest levels, fail. So that's a great insight that you have to move out of what you have already created, let somebody else or let the systems and processes handle this, and you move to newer horizons. Extremely interesting insights, Alkesh. Atulji, coming back to you, you play the role of the finance CFO as well. So how do you, two questions. One is, what is the role of a good CFO versus a strategic CFO? And how do you see the CFO role evolving in this coming times, say Vision 2030? What would be the role of the CFO in, managing these dynamic times?
See, I think traditional CFOs were people or are people who still rely on just on the balance sheet, how you get quarterly audits done or monthly MIS done, and obviously the annual audits done, and complying with the various statutory norms. India is a country which has, in some sense, too many statutory returns to fill in. You need to move away from that, especially with respect to AI, how AI is helping many of the finance functions. Today you have various tools available at your disposal, which kind of eases your life, the life of your team as well. You can, and I do not want to name any particular tool, but there are, I'm sure everyone in this room is quite aware, that you do not want to do the mundane or the day-to-day work in some sense. if you want to become more of a strategic CFO or kind of heading the organization, you want to be aware of the innovations that are happening in the industry. When I say in the industry, I say in the finance industry. And B, I think many people are not I should not say many, but most people are not well read. There are, India again is a country which changes laws quite frequently. You need to be very well read on the laws that are getting changed. I think if someone were to calculate, I think you get almost 10 to 12 amendments every day in some statute or the other. And if you're not well read, you're not up to speed in terms of your learning curve, then somewhere or the other you will falter. And nowadays, government is very, very stringent on the penalties, etc. So I think a strategic CFO's job is more to keep himself or herself updated in terms of the various regulations, in terms of the various functions, rather than doing a mundane job of preparing the balance sheet, getting the audit done, etc. That I think that still can be done by the team. At the leadership level, I suggest that's not his job.
Thank you, Atulji, for the wonderful insights. Any discussions now, AI cannot be far behind. And my personal Twitter and X timelines are full of anthropic. I sometimes feel, have I searched the word anthropic, and it's all full of Claude and anthropic. The kind of predictions that are being made look interesting also, at the same time look scary also. When the Anthropic CEO stands up and says 50% of consultants and finance and people or lawyers will not have work in 1 year from now, because they are shrinking the AI timelines very fast. So, but so be it. Moving on to Subir again. Sir, you have headed different roles in Exide for a long time. How do you see Indian large companies performing in this coming times? How are they going to deal with? Will this whole AI thing make smaller companies more agile, or will larger companies continue to? Because we have seen what happened with IBM a few days ago. All the IT companies are under threat. Of course, the core sectors, the steel, aluminum, they may not be affected by this thing. But other than that, are smaller companies going to be more effective, or will large companies will have that kind of a say they have had in the last 100, 200 years?
Well, AI is a much hyped, subject today. Every day you get to read about it in the papers. And I think one tries to gauge the impact of AI from the impact it is making in the stock market. So I think these two should be delinked. Because the initial, excitement that will settle down after some time. Now, as far as companies are concerned, AI certainly can make a very big impact. There is no doubt about it. Particularly, so far, at least in print media and digital media, we have only talked about the difference AI can make in non-manufacturing sector. In financial sector, you just talked about, and maybe in the IT space and so on. You won't require programmers, coders, and so on. But actually, AI, the impact of AI in manufacturing hardware, this is something which has not really been explored or discussed, and this is where I think it is going to make a major impact as we go forward. Now, the question is that whether companies should embrace it or not. My, two bit of opinion on this is you should wholeheartedly embrace it and explore as to where, particularly large companies we have talked about. My experience is only in manufacturing, so I can tell you, particularly in shop floor activities, in quality control, in various materials functions, I think AI can play a major role, and this is something that should be explored immediately. Because if you do not, then in the next 5 to 10 years, you may suddenly find yourself to be uncompetitive. I'll give you a small example. It's nothing to do with AI, but the way the world has changed. You know, Exide today is a company with a turnover of about 17,000 crores, 2 billion US company. Now, it's a brick and mortar company. Now, this company, direct and indirect labor, if I take, you know, globally, we employ about 20,000 heads. Now, when we set up the lithium-ion plant in Bangalore, at full scale, that turnover would be slightly lower than Exide, but it's quite a large turnover, at least 1.5 billion US. The employee footprint out there was initially, as per design, was about 1,500 heads. So that is the scale of automation which is happening. You know, this kind of turnover, if you look at the employment intensity in the new age as compared to the old age, there is a huge difference. You can't, it's not comparable. Now, unless one is able to embrace automation, and automation in today's context also means AI, you will be left out. You will not be able to compete on costs. That is for sure.
So, sir, Atulji is sitting right beside you. So, and he's into the core sectors. And so, what will be, if you had to, you are a coach as well, so if you had to advise him, how does he embrace AI into his business going forward in his vision to 2030? Of course, Atulji himself would be planning for it, but other than the service sectors, the accountants and the lawyers and all those, in the core sector, what does he do? How does he deploy AI in his this thing? Just if there is any insight from your end.
See, you know, in the good old days, productivity depended on employee productivity, how much the employee would be able to produce. That's how, and then you would actually have negotiations with the trade union. So, trade union would say that, you know, we would manufacture only 700 units per shift. And this used to be a negotiated quantity, and this is how productivity used to be measured. But today we are talking about productivity at the machine capability level. Now, the new concept is that your machines will produce for you. You just need to take care of the machines. Employees don't produce anymore in the modern context. It's the machines which produce. What is your job? Your job is to take care of the machines. How do you take care of the machines? You take care of the machines by monitoring all the parameters. How do you monitor the parameters? There are two ways to do it. Either you actually, you know, download the data and then somebody checks it, or you employ AI to give you exception reports, to tell you out of the 50 machines which are working, these two are not working as per the design standards, and therefore you need to do this check. This is where AI comes in. So basically, productivity has shifted from man to machine. And man's job is today to take care of the machine, and this is where AI comes into the picture.
So Atulji, do you see AI doctors and nurses in any time soon? Or at least part of the role they're playing, I'm sure human.
So in our healthcare business, we do have robots who are doing surgeries right now.
Yes, your hospital is known for robotic surgeries.
So we do have robotic surgeries being done. We do have CT scans, MRIs being read by various AI tools. You have a good HMIS, which also ensures that the patient's data is well protected, and B, also data analytics can be done on that as well. So we are seeing some migration for further use of technology, but at the end of the day, for paramedical, medical staff, it's very difficult to move away from physical interventions. You will need the doctors and the nurses as such. You can't say that everything will be done by machines.
No, not everything, but machines will play a role. Alkesh, if like Subir advised for the core sectors, if you had to advise, and you are already advisor for her, for the same thing, as to how, you know, going forward, say when she looks at Vision 2030. What is the role of AI technology that could play in her business, in her growth, or for that matter, any startup? What is the role, how they should plan for this for the next 4 or 5 years?
So, first of all, I would say Subir explained it really well. I think that's the depth of the answer was really, really great. So whether it be startup, look, I would again take it very other way. Like when you talk about startups, the young people coming in, or when you are starting something with a fresh perspective, you look at everything. क्या available है, क्या नया building आप नया बना रहे हो, क्या cement लगा सकते हो. They always embrace AI faster than existing organizations because they start from scratch. The problem comes in when we have already done something. So again, I kind of concur with Subirda and I say what I'm excited about in India overall over the next 10 years, 2030 is AI and ML in manufacturing. So when I say manufacturing, the difference is that US saw that industrial revolution quite a few decades back. Then we saw China evolving. Now when it's India's turn, so already India is standing at a point where there's a lot of new technology which has come in. So right from ML to AI. So anybody who's now trying to deploy new setups in manufacturing, if they are open to from day zero to kind of implement with that, so we have a great heads up. So we can literally leapfrog what others have done in last 10 years, we can do and achieve in 1 year. So that is a power that we have. So, and that is too exciting to me actually, to be very honest, because definitely other productivity, efficiency tools, AI, everything will come and we'll keep embracing. But for India to become superpower, what we'll have to see that next revolution is guided and rided by these evolutions. So, and whether it be US, Europe and China, everybody takes some time to remove what they have actually built. So the machines, the setup, and we'll start. So I think all of us sitting in this room, if they're doing something in manufacturing, or when I say, or maybe supporting manufacturing company, try to deploy the best things, best technology, even though you do it in a small way. I think that will be the differentiator and that can only keep you relevant.
And if you need capital for that, think of us, leveraged. Thank you. So that's very insightful, In fact, I was reading about dark factories in China, and anybody who may not have heard of this, the entire factory will be run by robots and they won't require light. The robots don't have eyes, so they don't need light to see. So the entire factory is running and producing, and there is no light. They are called dark factories. I found that very enticing, but I think that's the way forward. And so, do you agree with all that insights that you have got, Vineeta, so far? And how are you, as an entrepreneur, being in the startups, how are you handling it?
Absolutely. So, I mean, everyone before me has summed it up really well, whether it is a brick or mortar business like Subir's or Alkesh shared that, how startups should incorporate tech. So for my experience also, I kind of run 2 businesses, consulting and consumer. So we have, I am a finance person, I'm not a tech person at all, but yes, no one can say that in today's time कि मैं finance से हूँ या manufacturing से हूँ तो मुझे tech नहीं आता है. हर किसी को tech सीखने की ज़रूरत है. It's not necessary that you become a tech expert, but you have to incorporate it in ways that makes life easier, more efficient, cost effective. So what we have achieved both in our consulting as well as consumer business is a lot of efficiency and speed, and we've lot of cost saving. Just recently, a skincare brand featured on Shark Tank, and they came out in the open and they said that all our formulations are done by AI. That is something, all the brands in skin, personal care, they all say ki we are science backed, we are this, we are that. Even we have worked with the best of formulators, but now AI is doing the formulations also. So yeah, I mean, it has really helped. So as a consumer brand, in a D2C brand, there's a lot of content that we need to churn out every day for various platforms, which was a very time consuming and a very expensive affair till 2 years back, you had to engage creators, you needed a complete setup with audio and visual and camera and all of that. So now none of it is needed. You can come up with excellent content, much better than that, in no time and at negligible cost. So that is something that has really helped businesses like us also. So our cost on that front has gone down a lot. And on the consulting front also, earlier if we had to, after meeting a client, if we had to send across a proposal and, send across our industry insights, that used to take 2-3 days. Hum hamesha kehte the ki, okay, sir, we'll come back to you in couple of days or next week. But now we can, do that on the same day. So that's how tech has really made lives easier and has brought in a lot of efficiency to everything that we do.
Of course, at a personal level, notebook LM is one technology I used very often, and it has changed the way what presentation preparations used to take hours and days get done in in a couple of hours. And I'm right now experimenting with Claude Co-work, which has been launched recently, and I'm still playing around with it to see. It can take control of your entire laptop, and whichever folder, whatever information you want to organize, prepare any kind of documents, it can get it done. But I'm still experimenting with it.
So, but I'll just like to add, which is very important, and this was a discussion we were having yesterday. So, chairman of Persistent Technologies was here in Calcutta.
Mr. Anand Deshpande.
Anand Deshpande was there, and we were sitting and we were doing, and we were discussing at length about how things are evolving. So, because you mentioned the word Anthropic, right? So
just to add, Alkesh is also involved with TAI, and he serves as an honorary secretary.
No, I'm vice president now. So
a vice president. Okay, so I have a different data over here.
Yeah, no, it's fine. So so at Anthropic, so Anthropic is making waves now, and you see everywhere Anthropic, they will change this. And Mr. Anand was sitting with Anthropic CEO a couple of days back, and he shared the entire thing, how things are going. So what we need to do as individuals, as organizations, small or medium, is to filter music from the noise, right? So that's very, very important, because any company who wants to do something, let's say Anthropic wants to do and create a lot of amazing things, but the kind of wave they are making is not real. What they're doing, they are setting up a center in Bangalore where they'll be hiring tens of thousands of programmers, coders, and FDEs, forward deployed engineers. If you Google around, you'll understand what they're doing. Now what they wanted to do is, because they wanted to hire the best of the talent, if they don't make that wave that they are changing the world, nobody's going to leave Google or others, right? So before making that hiring so powerful, so they committed something they are not up to, which is 10 years from now. But yes, they look forward to do so 10 years from the now, but they are making bold claims today just to move things, shake things up. And that's where our intelligence has to play a very, very significant role when it comes to AI. What to deploy now, rather than to see things 10 years from here and end up doing nothing or getting overwhelmed with it. So I think filtering noise is really, really important. That's what I believe.
See, I think what you mentioned about Claude Co-works, just to correct, or my personal view, people are giving their entire laptop or entire data on it. How much privacy you're losing at the expense of AI is something that people really need to think about.
Sir, when you are using Google and we are using Microsoft, and when you are using Apple and you are using Chinese hardware, today morning there was a group and somebody mentioned somebody called him over WhatsApp and he said, "Mera data chori." Privacy, in my opinion, and more so in the Indian context, is a myth. We are exposing. Google exactly knows that right now you are sitting over here. They have the exact location. Modi government may not have, the state government may not know where you are sitting here. Google exactly knows your latitude and longitude to the yes. No, but even if you switch off a location, you are being located, because Maps is still running and you are running with the map. So privacy, it's a debatable topic. We'll not get into that. I'm reminded of that essay that one child learned about, he did an essay about cow, and in the exam the essay came about tree. So he said, "Ek पेड़ है उसके नीचे गाय खड़ी," and then he wrote the entire cow essay. So let's not make it from an innovation to an AI discussion. So let me just change the theme from here, and I'll go back to Subir and Atul ji both, and then to the startups on my left side. How do you see other matrices revenue, AI, technology, all these things. What are the other matrices when somebody makes a vision plan? It's always there. Spreadsheets are there. What is the impact of technology on that? These are easier things to discuss. And what are the non-revenue, non-financial matrices that somebody, when he is doing a vision planning for 2030, what are the things that should be taken into consideration?
So, to me, the most important non-revenue component is the human capital. So that is something that one needs to plan, because human beings, they have their own idiosyncrasies, and the requirements of the human capital that you want to employ, that is also undergoing a lot of change, particularly with the Gen Z and so on and so forth. Their aspirations, they are very different. Now, a lot of startup community here, and the problem which I find many of them face is that the aspiration of the entrepreneur, that does not always match the aspiration of the people that person is able to employ. So some incongruence happens because of that. So I think human capital is something that one needs to plan for. Just the way one plans for revenue, capital, ROI, and so on and so forth, this is something that one certainly needs to plan for. One more thing I'll talk about this. We had a lot of discussion on AI. Maybe I'm digressing a bit. One thing that none of the countries are factoring into this digital and AI explosion is that all these technologies, they are power guzzlers. They consume a lot of power. And in an environment when we want to go to non-fossil sources for generation of power, this becomes even more challenging. So this is something as a country one needs to plan for. Otherwise, in 5 years' time, you may have all these devices, but you won't have the power to run it. We are staring at that situation now. Because data centers, they are real power guzzlers. And how do we manage that situation? This is something that needs to be factored in to our country plan.
So just to make things a little lighter, there is a certain group of entrepreneurs, some 900 odd people are there in that group. And those good morning messages, once the group was formed, those good morning messages started. And in spite of several warnings, nobody was stopping. And I finally told them, you have no idea, that how the data servers are consuming energy. If for nothing, at least for the environment sustainability, don't send these good morning messages. They are consuming a lot of energy. It may be a very innocuous message or any very innocuous forward, but at a collective level, the kind of energy these messages are wasting helps nobody in this world. And your good morning messages don't make anybody's morning good. So finally, with that kind of a warning, things stopped. So Atulji, same question to you. How do you see non-revenue, non-AI, non-technology, human part he has answered. Of course, you can add to that. But how do you see other matrices driving businesses and innovation and, being part of the 2030 plan, if anybody, this thing. One important thing is there, and I have learned this recently, that an entrepreneur needs to plan much ahead of time, Your plans may not work, things may be very different from what you plan, but still a planning is required, So some of people may think that 2030 yaar bahut dur hai, abhi kya plan karenge, 2026 mein. If you are not doing that, then you are just in maintenance mode, Vishnu wala mode mein hai. If you want to really take your business to the next level, at least have a vision, at least have a plan for 3, 4, 5 years ahead of time. So with that, sir, over to you.
So I think Subir has mentioned about human capital. I think one of the important things is also with respect to human capital is also employee satisfaction. Means whether it's part of human capital, but also as a country, we are quite different from, say, China or US for that matter as well. You do measure social impact. As an entrepreneur, if you are blessed with certain skills by God that He has given you these skills, it is your duty in some sense to have a social impact of those skills as well. So I think that is something that you need to think about as to how A, you can do, whether it is employment generation, B, return to the society as such, because social impact, I think, is very, very important. And whether it is smaller things like what you mentioned, this green initiative in terms of not doing this good morning, good evening messages or whatever, but that is again a social impact because you are telling them that you are affecting the environment. But I think a larger social impact as an entrepreneur is whether it is a startup, you are generating some revenues, paying some tax somewhere or the other, you are generating employment also for the society as such. Because I think at the end of the day, that will also bridge the gap between the top paying executives and the low bottom rung as well. Today, if you see, the gap has become quite a bit. It's not something that is discussed in many boardrooms, but that I think that can lead to something like what you see in the Middle East and other places, a revolution, which is quite undesirable in that sense.
Before I must answer how I delivered this message. That's very interesting. At 4:30 p.m. in California, a young engineer who has recently joined WhatsApp comes running to his senior and says, "Ki sir, it looks like there is a cyber attack. Suddenly, all the matrices and there is a surge in data, and please look into it. It looks like a very emergency situation." And the senior looks at his watch, global watch, and says, "Don't worry, it's 6 a.m. in India, and people are uploading good morning messages, and that is why there is such a surge in this thing." This is how I actually delivered the message, and thankfully it worked. It brought down the traffic a lot. Acha, I'll put this question in a different way. Both Subirda and they have spoken about HR. Being from a startup industry, Alkesh and both of you, Vineeta, question is, do you see one-man companies becoming a norm with, instead of employees, there are AI agents, who do all the work, and maybe a one person running a $1 billion company?
So, I definitely see 5 to 10 people company becoming $1 billion companies, not one man, because one man can't do anything. That's what I think. Somewhere it is a cliche, but yes, because but the number of those companies will be very limited, and what we end up doing is talking about them. So there can be just one of them or 2 of them or 5 of them doing so, because if you're picking up hardcore tech and delivering something through the route of software which is scalable, then you can definitely do so, because a lot of AI, right from chatbots to engines to self-coding platforms will take kind of shape better and better. They'll get better and better. So definitely yes, I see. And for that matter, why are we talking about that today? Because WhatsApp, when they became a couple of $1 billion, there were just 6 people inside. So WhatsApp was one of those companies which went on to become, I think, around $20-25 billion with just six people around. So the problem with that, and we have seen X, former Twitter, how they sacked thousands, rather hundreds of thousands of employees, and still they performed better. Because somehow over the years, the way we have built our companies is that for productivity, rather than making our employees better, we have hired more and more people, and that's what started changing. Yeah, the challenge AI is going to bring is huge in terms of how the humans and human capitals will be addressed, but somehow I'm hopeful. We have seen that happening with Industrial Revolution, then we have seen it happening with a lot of other technologies coming in place. But still, we find a way out. So as human race, we always find a way out. And with that hope, I still think we'll find a way out to do something with our people and also with technologies.
My take always has been on this, that traditionally we have not considered arts as a great subject, The weaker students were expected to take arts, the better ones were taking commerce, and the brilliant ones were taking science. And with all this technological involvement, I think world will move, arts will become a more important subject than, science and commerce. That's my personal view on going forward, because AI won't be able to do drawings and write the kind of songs and music which humans are capable of. So that's my take on this thing. What's your point of view, Vineeta, on the same thing? Do you see yourself running your company single-handedly with AI agents?
No, so see, obviously, such companies will be very few. It's not like that the world will turn upside down from what we are, today. So, वैसे कुछ businesses बनेंगे, but that will be very few and handful. Obviously, AI has kind of, made it mandatory for everyone that you, upskill yourself. अब आपको काम चोरी से काम नहीं चलेगा. So you have to really be, all the more hardworking and smart working, not just hardworking. You need to get smarter, and yeah, I mean that's my take on this.
Subir, you talk a lot about, and I really love this human approach of all your submissions. You have kept human being as central. It was expected in the last 20 years with the advent of technology that human relationships, people will have more time for relationships. But what exactly has happened is the opposite. People have got more and more busier, and relationships have either become through social media or, through. So do you think the human relationship paradigm will change in times to come? People will have more time for better things in life, or people will continue to get as busy as they always have been?
Well, it's a philosophical question actually. So now with technology, whether human beings have become more social or less social, it's a debatable point. Now the thing is, let's look at it this way. I think what has affected is the depth of relationship. Not so much the width. The width perhaps has gone up because, good morning messages
Very
and
well
all
said.
that.
Very well said, sir.
But the depth, I belong to the dinosaur age when we had only Fiats and ambassadors on the road, and one had to book 1 year in advance if you wanted a car. So in those days, TV was not there, so mobile of course was not there. So it was quite normal for people to drop in on each other's, go to their house without making prior appointment. That was quite acceptable actually. Somebody just dropping in for an evening chai or whatever. Those have stopped completely. So now, actually, even if you want to visit your brother, you need to make an appointment. Is this convenient for you, and should we drop in, and so on and so forth. So obviously, what has happened to human beings is that they have gone apart in terms of the depth of relationships which they enjoyed. Obviously, the width has increased because you are engaging with people globally, and everything is on your fingertips. Whether this is good for humanity or bad for humanity, I cannot take a call. Maybe it will be good, maybe it will be bad, I do not know. But certainly, at the cost of a minor digression, those of you who are interested, there is a book, there's a short story, American short story written by E.M. Foster, way back in 1934, titled The Machine Stops. It's a short story.
The author on your other side is already nodding.
So theme of that book, I'll just explain in 2-3 sentences. You see, human beings, and a lot of it that he envisaged in 1934, I think has come true. Human beings cannot live anymore on the surface of the earth because it has become very polluted, so people have to go underground and live in conditioned environments, which we are already doing in a way because in places like Gurgaon and Noida and Delhi, you have to practically seal yourself off from pollution. But in this story, they have gone underground because the whole world is polluted. And human beings don't need to move because everything is taken care of by agentic AI, this, that, all kinds of things. So people are lying in cots. They are small cubicles, just like animals are kept in our world today. Human beings are like that. All lying, they don't need to get up because if food, whenever it's time to eat, something drops from the ceiling, a plate with the food, and there are, automated forks and spoons which push the food into your mouth. You don't need to even shift your hand. And if you are ill, then the stethoscope comes down from somewhere, your blood is taken and diagnosis is done. so on and so forth. Now, what happens is that this story is about a lady who is there in one such capsule, and she has got this tremendous desire to meet her son, whom she has not met, because everything is done artificially. Son is also in another cubicle, some part of the world, and there are these vehicles which take people, if they at all wish to travel. Most people don't want to. And that vehicle actually comes from under the ground, then goes up, maybe something like an airplane. And out there, you have some air hostesses kind of people. So while she is being taken into some such aircraft, air hostess accidentally touches her. And she is shocked because she is not used to human touch. Nobody has touched her. So she is absolutely shocked that, another human being is touching me. It's something that, it's something totally unnatural for her. Anyway, so once she comes back, she suddenly sees that, at lunchtime, the food doesn't come down. Something has happened. The food doesn't come down. Over a period of time, she finds that other things are also happening which are not as per schedule. When she is feeling a little ill, then the stethoscope doesn't come down, and so on and so forth. And this takes place gradually with increasing intensity. And obviously, the story ends because, the people who built machines, they have all died. And then the people who came after that, they have also died. So right now, this machine which is controlling humanity, the human world, it is uncontrolled. Nobody knows how to control this. It was going on for so long, but now nobody knows how to repair it. And the entire civilization finally collapses. So this is a story in 1934. I think a lot of it has come true. And I don't know, I hope the rest of it does not come true.
Sir, last year I visited Europe and I saw remotely glimpses of what you are saying over there. They don't have necessary human capital to run things, and same kind of, there is a complete lack of people. There is a fantastic 5-star hotel, but they don't have people to serve others. So I can relate with what you are saying, but not getting into any kind of criticism. So gentlemen, anybody can tell me how much time do we have? 10 minutes, so I should get towards summing up. So we had some wonderful discussions, some wonderful insights, from a very distinguished panel over here. And from whatever we have learned, AI, yeah, just a minute. Yeah, I'll wrap up in 5 minutes and then we can move to Q&A. That will be an interesting way to sum up. So we have learned various aspects of nowadays, every discussion tends to gravitate towards AI, which is what also happened with us. But I must thank Subir for bringing out the human component, the human element of this thing with such a nice story. And this diverse group has been able to tell us that, we are living in dynamic times, we are living in turbulent times. And as I said, every businessman, every entrepreneur should plan, have some kind of a plan for 2030, make a vision. How that vision will unfold, only time will tell, because whatever changes used to happen in decades are now happening in years and sometimes in months. What we understood about technology 1 year ago, we never knew these kind of changes are going to come. So the rate of change has increased dramatically. The treadmill is running much faster and we don't have a choice. We will have to increase our speed with that. With that, I will just request everybody to, on the panel, starting from Alkesh, just their last, summing up few words before I close the session and open it for Q&A.
Yeah, so I think one thing that I'd like to mention, whatever we are building, we'll be building it for consumers of tomorrow. So, and consumer behaviors evolve, changes every few months, every few years, every few decades. So whatever you are doing, don't look at it as AI first or business first, look at it as a customer first. So if I'm building X product, do my customer of 3 years from now, depending on what you can visualize, do you see him taking that route? Let's say if you see he's using Google Map, he'll not be asking something. So you have to start. The biggest power beyond AI that we have to cultivate is meet more and more people, observe consumer behaviors, and kind of become an astrologer in predicting how they will behave over the next couple of years and build for that. So I think markets will change, teams will change, consumers will also change. So can you predict that change today and start building for it? That's what will keep you relevant. Not AI first, consumer first. That's becoming all the more important.
Yeah, so the way I would like to sum up it is that, the fundamentals of doing any business will remain the same. So if I have to talk about a consumer-facing business, so our approach has been, and it is how we will take this journey forward, is that we would want to build our business, our products, wherein we don't have to, rely on heavy discounting. Our focus has been to build science-backed, effective products. We would not want to build a team purely on the basis of giving them hefty salary, which obviously as a startup we cannot pay like big conglomerates. But yes, the focus has been on building culture and warmth amongst the team members. And most importantly, it should be a business which should be backed by investors purely for its unit economics, profitability, and efficacy. So yeah, so these are the three very core fundamentals which I keep in my mind every day when I go to work. Yeah, thank you.
Subir.
So, since I'm the oldest person in the room, I can give a little bit of advice, which is, I think India is the best place to be in at this point in time. I wish I was not 68 and 28, but what has the opportunities which I have missed because the environment did not provide those opportunities, they're all there today for the young people, and I think you should go all out to seek those opportunities and to make a great life for yourself. I think India today is best placed among the Committee of Nations to be able to provide that, to provide, to meet the aspirations of Gen Z and young people. So I wish all of you all the best.
So yeah, from my side, I think that while everyone who is here, whether as an entrepreneur or as a financial professional, is, I'm sure, interested in growing their businesses, growing their consultancy practices, it is very, very important that we do run businesses, like I said earlier, which are very ethically run and have good corporate governance practices. Sometimes people miss this piece, and I think that really drives away investors, whether it is people like Alkesh or whoever who do invest in venture capital and angel investing, because I think corporate governance is very, very important and ethical practice is very important. As a nation, we are kind of generally found to be wanting on that, and I think we need to upgrade our thought process around having ethical businesses to run and with good corporate governance. Thanks.
Excellent. I think I tend to agree with Subir. We are staring at a wealth of opportunity, and being in this country is one of the biggest blessings that we have. And what a 140 crore population, where from the poorest of the persons to the richest Mukesh Ambani aspires to bring and give his generation next a better life. Even Mukesh Ambani wants his children to have a better life. What more? And a rickshawala wants his child to have a better life. With such an aspiring population where every person, wants to improve his life day in, day out, every morning, there is no such big opportunity. And the way we are connected with the global world and the way we are also local, it brings we are not closed like China, and we are not open like the Europe and America. We are at a fantastic point, and these are my favorite lines. कुछ तो बात है कि हस्ती मिटती नहीं हमारी, सदियों से रहा है दुश्मने दौरे ज़माना, सारे जहाँ से अच्छा हिंदुस्तान हमारा. We are standing at an influx of tremendous growth. There are problems to be solved. Smallest of problems, if you can deliver fruit from a restaurant to house, or if you can get make a payment, transfer this bank account to that bank account, there is a business to be made. And there are core sectors where we are standing at an influx of tremendous opportunity. Everybody who is thinking of doing something just needs to find a problem, solve it, and there is a market which will give you all that you require. With these kind words, I will open the house to question and answers for next 5 minutes. And over to you. Please provide the mics.
So, good afternoon. This is CA Aninda Ghosh. I head projects at SRMB Group, Kolkata. Because I retired after 35 years across Tata Steel, JSW 16 years, and Aditya Birla, etc. My question is directly to Subir da. Is it working? Yeah. So the question, I completely agree that after AI, the monitoring has improved. The management, the board review, budget versus actual review. So again, in CI first correlate to the financial jargons, but I'm talking about the total review, because during every cost meeting or the ExCom meeting, one or two things you read to finance or anything. So if the efficiency, effectiveness are to be governed, or say the cost reduction programs, value engineering programs, which really put value, because today revenue cannot go up so much, the cost reduction gives the better EBITDA. That is from your time also. Point is that, so here, how far AI do you see in now and in next 3-4 years can give? Can the human effort in or human involvement in creating the value engineering programs, the suggestion programs, the cost reduction programs, even the cost audit, the management audit, the CRO, the risk governance, not just this IT-based risk.
I request you to be a little brief in interest of time.
That is the question. So can there be a supplement?
If you can just sum up the question first for the audience and then.
Yeah, so basically what I feel is that initially you talked about 3 to 4 years. A lot of the repetitive kind of work certainly can be done by AI, but where decision making is involved, I think the human element will certainly come into play. There is no doubt about it. Thank you.
We can take a couple of more questions.
My question is for Subir. My name is Satyajit Dev. I am in the banking industry for a pretty long time, 30-80 years I have spent in RBI and just superannuated 2 months back. This question is for the BFSI industry and for leadership. What is the special skill a leader should have for a banking leader, because there is a tsunami of fintech? Because you mentioned that you belong to the dinosaur age and all. We have also seen banking without computer. Now we can see bank without premises. So my specific question is for a leader, banking leader or a financial system leader, उनका क्या specific skill चाहिए, critical skill in the age where there is a tsunami of fintech companies?
Well, leadership, spans across various disciplines. Leadership is not limited to one specific discipline. So I will make it a little more broad-based, because I think leadership it cannot be constrained within fine spaces. Now, leadership in any situation is about having the power to influence others. What does a leader do at the end of the day? He is able to influence others to be able to do certain jobs, tasks, whatever you call it. So now, in any large setup, whether it's banking or otherwise, and I will come to the startup ecosystem subsequently. A leader has to be able to strategize and get out of the way. Now, the last 3 words are very important. Get out of the way. Because if the leader is doing his subordinates' work, then he is no leader, and he is not developing people. And if he is not allowing for people to make small mistakes, people under him, then he is not obviously developing for tomorrow. So it is very important that, a CEO who has to work, 18 hours a day, to my mind, he is not doing justice to his role. A large part of a CEO's role is to be able to develop people under him who will be able to do the job. A CEO should be able to call it a day at 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening. And this is a question that every CEO must ask himself or herself, that am I doing somebody else's job? Now what happens in a startup ecosystem is that because startups are usually started by people who are hands-on. They start doing, it's a single person operation, and gradually it may be 2 or 3 person operation. Everybody is doing everything, and it's a very intense kind of situation. When a startup grows, now Alkesh talks about growth and so on and so forth, there are mental hurdles, but also the problem is, when does an entrepreneur become a CEO? This is extremely critical for a startup. I know many startups face this problem because the CEO or the entrepreneur, he or she doesn't want to hand over any responsibility to anybody else. Because that person knows best, obviously, that person has started the startup. So there's nobody else as knowledgeable as that person, and that person always feels very, very nervous about handing over anything to another person. So this, I think, in the journey of a startup, those startups which become very successful large companies are those, in those startups you will see that the entrepreneur has been able to upgrade himself to the role of a CEO. And wherever it doesn't happen, it gets caught up in that never-ending cycle of, not being able to delegate, losing people, taking on fresh people, retraining them. So this happens. So, to answer your question, I think leadership is something which is very broad-based, and one has to look at it a little differently across sectors.
There is an interesting book on what Subir said, Who Not How. I forget the name of the author. Who Not How is what a person in leadership role needs to think, and that who should not be he or she himself or herself. That should be somebody else. So that's a very interesting book, and it's a must read for entrepreneurs and CEOs. And another thing every entrepreneur can put on his dashboard is less is more. In today's world, less is more. If you are working less, it's good. If you have the bandwidth to think and you have time to reflect upon. Reflections, the knowledge which comes from inside is far more useful and relevant than the knowledge that comes externally, acquired knowledge or experiential knowledge. That is what I tell entrepreneurs also, that the knowledge that comes from insights that come from inside through reflection, through silence, are far more relevant, useful and game-changing than anything that comes from outside. So thank you for the question. There is a QR code on your tables. I will request everybody to pay attention and scan it on their phones. And then follow the instructions on this screen. Vikas is coordinating it. Request everybody to scan the QR codes on their tables. And people who are behind, please scan the QR code on the table.
While they are doing it, I think there are a couple of more questions.
We can handle questions till then. Yes. Yes.
My name is Neeraj Jaiswal. I work in a hospital chain operating in Europe and India, and as well as a tech company. So there is no question for you. I just want to share my insight on the AI, rather thought on AI, what it is doing or is capable of doing for the healthcare. The present level of intelligence level of AI is, I can say it's equivalent to a PhD scholar. Without understanding the
insight about how a brain works. Still, the medical science has not gone into very deep about the understanding about a brain system. And a computer system is far ahead of it, and mankind not knowing about how an entire brain system works. It's very fascinating thing for, at least for me. To compare with the mankind, where we have reached an organ is a web, where we have surpassed the God, can be the eyesight, eye. Because our quest for the stars, much ahead, many centuries ago, has taken, where we have overtaken the our organ eye. We can see deep. The AI is what AI can do for the healthcare, or it is doing probably. The clinical research which was supposed to be done for the 10 years can be completed with the help of AI. The analysis can be done in a day. And the many organs, what I'm saying, will be able to do in future, and many technology will come where we'll be able to help. And one of the best, which I want to see in my lifetime, is organ transplant. We have, in that case, we'll be able to save, with the help of AI and the technology, we can replicate the organs with the help of, in the factory thing, kind of thing, we'll be able to save many lives, and I wish to see it before my lifetime.
Thank you.
So, yeah, hi. I have a question. My name is Vineeta, and my question is for Alkesh, but I would be very happy if someone else would also like to contribute. So, Alkesh, I would like to pick your brain on something which has been a repetitive theme in this discussion and also in your book. And by the way, I read the book. It's an amazing book, and everyone here, must read that book. It's called Live Evil.
Live Evil.
Thank you,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, here is the book. So that theme is about building for today versus thinking about the possibilities of tomorrow. And when you are actually building something, and this is coming from someone who has tried to build something, when you are actually building something, you are, I would say, struggling with a lot of day-to-day stuff, and there is complete internal blindness about things changing very fast. There are huge organizations which just went bankrupt with time because they could not see what's coming in, right? The same thing happens with functions also. There is marketing myopia, there is product development myopia. We are stuck with what we have built. So I want to understand, since you are a very structured person, do we have any template or any structure which we as entrepreneurs can have to understand that we are missing on the future possibilities? We are just trying to tie up with what we have today and just stick with that, save that, as you said, and not think about future. And I think that's a big mistake we are making. So how to look at that, how to contemplate from inside out that this is a mistake which we might be making today.
Yeah. So I think very nice question. But yeah, I think it needs a lot of discussion. But if I have to put it in an answer which is quick, I would say entrepreneurship, for that matter, is not physics. So you don't have any clear answers to be for anything, leadership or entrepreneurship. But yes, when it comes to framework, everyone develops their own. When we say everyone, it's not like every entrepreneur. Maybe set of entrepreneurs, or we have quite a lot of training programs. Because you read the book, so I have listed few how I came out of those when I was building, and still I am building because I am an entrepreneur in and out, right? So there are a couple of things here, like rather than going into the framework itself, the first thing that a startup or SME companies especially do, we all think that, I'm categorizing myself into it, we all think that independent directors or mentors or governance is a task of large organizations. And I think that is the biggest mistake we start with. So what I've always learned, you need a third eye. So you have to figure out right few people whom you might not be paying, or maybe paying, doesn't matter, but they are honest, they have lived something, maybe in your industry, maybe outside, because Subir really pointed out well, so a leader or somebody who's expert doesn't need any domain kind of binding. So someone from your domain, somebody from outside domain should come and become part of your few meetings, and you should be open to listen. You should be open to act. You should be open to report back. Somebody said me at least 20-25 years ago, when I was building up and I raised a couple of $1 million first time, I think 2007 or something like that. So Alkesh, before funding, he asked me one thing, Alkesh, do you have that fortitude to hire a boss for yourself? And I didn't actually get that question right. I'm like, what did you say? बोला तुमको पैसा दिया अपने लिए boss hire कर सकते हो? I'm like, and it was so difficult to understand that, and it was so deep. It took me some time. So that's why I say at times you can take it as like, can you have few bosses with you which are by your side? I think that is the first step to question your assumptions, to come out and break out of your cocoon that you create when you are building something, because you become passionate, you get into that sunk cost fallacy, you get into that. And the bigger thing I would say that we all don't accept is our identity. Often when we start building something and we get initial success, we link our identity to that. मेरे को लोग इससे जानते हैं, मैंने इतना काम किया, 2 news आ चुकी, and then it's become very difficult to come out of it. So that is what is true identity crisis. So I wouldn't say to every entrepreneur, I would always say that don't build your identity around what you're doing. You are completely different. You might be doing something today, might be something tomorrow, but you should emerge out as a person who is willing to learn, adapt, take pause, and hit back to that drawing board.
I just have 1 second, sorry, I'll take 1 more second. I have a request to everyone over here, and that request is to, we all practice certain things. And in India, there is a lack of culture of theory, making theory out of that practice. If you look at the best of the business books in the world, these were first practice, converted into theory later, and those are like templates for people who can actually practice it later, right? If you look at BCG metrics, or if you look at anything like that. In India, we don't have that culture. So, there is one book, and there is book by Vikash, right? So in this room, people are so educated, so much into practice in various fields. Everyone should aspire to write a book and try to explain what they have learned in their practice, so that it can be made into templates, can be made into theory, which others, lesser mortals like us, can practice. Thank you so much.
I will take that bait. I'll take your advice seriously. I keep writing in small bits, and there is a lot of collection. I'll try and compile those and bring them out, being inspired by your words and what Alkesh has done. I would like to add my perspective to your. If the CEO of the company loves operations, then he will not have time to listen to the trends and this thing. So and we somehow or the other in India, if the head of the company is not doing operations, then he feels he is not working. We have associated this operations is equal to working.
So Pawan, I'll interrupt and say, because from the question first to till now, you have been pointing out India again and again, because I work with a lot of founders outside. It is the same everywhere. So, and we need to understand that, because the stories that you are reading about US are for few successful guys that you are kind of thing. So I have a lot of portfolio companies from US, a lot of portfolio companies from Europe that I have invested in, and we face the same thing. And somehow, when we discuss, we bring in India a lot and derail it. So it's a common human entrepreneurial issue. It's not India issue. It's everywhere. That's what I've seen.
That part I take, because my experience is more with Indian entrepreneurs. So I wouldn't have a view. So that's not to say it outside India it is not happening. But what I'm saying is this love for operations, if the CEO can step out of operations and and create a system and process around it, then he will have the time. I personally tell people there are 3 forms of knowledge. One is acquired knowledge through reading, seeing, watching videos, etc. One is experiential knowledge we get by doing, and the third knowledge is knowledge which comes from inside, the knowledge which comes through meditation, reflection, thinking, observing. And today we have got so occupied with the first 2, because there the impact is, the cause and effect are very easy to establish, that we don't have time to, have time for the third. Whereas an entrepreneur success will come more from the third domain than the first 2. First 2 can be outsourced, but the third has to be internal. So my request to all entrepreneurs will be, try and step out of operations and and have time for reflection and thinking. Sir, anything you would like to add to this? Okay, Vikash.
Yes, so thank you so much. Of course, I think all of you have been looking at the questions on your screen. We not only want to hear the answers or responses or views from the panelists, but also from the ones who are off stage. So yes, please continue to look at the questions, and Pawan bhai, you might want to sort of summarize this. Can we go to the previous question, please? Can we go to the previous question and see the responses, please? Yes, Go to the first one, please. First one. Yes. So what creates maximum value for organizations? Vision, future plans and projections. We've got 36 out of 58 responses. So yes, you can continue to sort of respond to this, and everyone of course can see this on the screen. Anyone wants to talk from the panel, Alkesh, if you want to reflect on it, that'll be awesome, right?
That's what we have been reflecting far. So and this.
Yes, and interestingly, great people comes on the 4th position. So yeah, but yes, go to the next one, please. Next slide. Primary driver of enterprise value. So most people think it's growth visibility. Cash flow strength comes 3rd, governance comes 2nd, and we've seen a synergy in the second response, in the second question and the third question where we are talking about governance again. Interestingly, we keep talking about governance during public forums like these, but I don't know, we all have to question ourselves, how much do we see it actually happening in our own organization sometimes? But yes, it's very interesting. Again, if anyone wants to talk about it, have a view around it from the panel, we'd love to hear your views on this. I'm just trying to ensure that we're not significantly exceeding time. We've already exceeded some time, but trying to sort of...
There is one comedian, Gurleen, and she said nepotism तभी तक बुरा लगता है जब खुद के साथ ना हो रहा हो.
Exactly.
So governance, governance is something we want from others, but when it comes to us, we want those all kinds of freedom that we take. So that's my understanding of governance. We don't want to be governed. We don't want to submit ourselves to governance.
Okay. The next one, please. Good governance, enhance valuation multiples. 27 people say strongly agree. 6 say agree. Right? Of course, it's an obvious question, but yeah, I'd love to see someone who says no. It's just a sham. It's just qualitative matrix, and it may not actually enhance valuation multiples. But and we will not publish your name for sure. But if you think that, please write that. Okay.
The question should have been bad governance kills multiples. Then it would have been more relevant actually.
Certainly. Interesting. Yes. Can we go to the next one, please? What are the biggest risk in mergers and acquisitions? You pick one. So cultural misalignment is the maximum. And Atulji, if you want to share your view on this question, we'll be happy to hear that from you.
So I think why Vikas is asking me to share my view is we've done a recent M&A. So I think cultural misalignment is one of the biggest risks, but I think those soft checks also need to be done before in the DD process as well. And DD team needs to be very, very strong. DD does not need to be external as well. You need to have your own internal DD team to be there as well. And integration of that business or alignment of the business with your core business, existing business is also very, very important. Because at the end of the day, if you're doing something, you're buying something that is very far away from what you are already doing, then your team or your existing team will never understand or appreciate what they're doing. So it is very important that you do a M&A along the same line of business, or along the same, with people having the same line of thought in some sense.
Thank you so much. And yes, please continue.
No wonder during marriages, people look for so much of cultural alignment.
Absolutely. Yes, Dineshji, please.
More than cultural alignment or mismanagement, I think it is more of a regulatory hurdles. In India, there are so much regulations and so much laws to be followed, but in a hurry or in a hurry, we can say, or just to bypass some minor issues, we don't look at them and try to overcome and do our job. But later on, if you find that one small issue, one small problem can create into big troubles, like we have seen that in the case of Jindal, where Supreme Court has reversed the decision of merger. So that is a big challenge for them, and now they are trying to cope it up. So regulatory hurdles is a big thing. Cultural things we can manage, or it gets managed over a period of time when we start working together, when we try to convince each other about our system, our cultures. But regulatory is a big challenge that I understand.
So no wonder in marriage also the others.
That was not following the Supreme Court order.
Let's not get into the debate. But no wonder in marriage also the other side is called in-laws, So there is a law involved there as well. So with that, Vikas,
yes.
Can you move on?
Thank you so much. Do we have more questions? Let's take the last one. Okay, so audience's view on what should be the top priority for CEOs, and innovation is far ahead in terms of against governance and growth and talent and profitability, right?
I think the theme of our event has biased people into.
Possibly, yeah, I think the same. I mean, I probably. But yes, Alkesh bhai, you have a view on this?
No, I think the only thing that I think someday else we need to hash out is what do we really mean by innovation. So innovation is not always doing something disruptive and something new. You might really pick up few things which is already been done and make them incrementally or rather I would say disruptively better. So when I meet with people and entrepreneurs, at times innovation becomes such a fancy word that they end up doing nothing. So innovation is whatever is happening, we make it better and better. So that is very important to understand.
I would like to add to what Akhilesh just said, that I mean, what should be the top priority of a CEO? I wanted to say something which is not on the screen, that's why I thought of calling it out. As a CEO, I feel it's the role of a CEO to hire the right people and give them the vision where the company should go few years down the line. Rest of the things, innovation, growth, governance, those good people will bring it. It's giving the right direction, the margdarshan and conviction to those people to follow that path is what a CEO should be doing in my mind.
So they should term it as CVO, Chief Vision Officer, rather than Chief Executive Officer, where he's too busy with execution.
Well said, yeah. I mean, as you said, the third thing which comes from inside, that's what the CEO needs to bring it
Absolutely, absolutely. I think with this we will call it, thank you very much for all your insights and beautiful things, and all the insights that has been got. I think we had a good time. Thank you very much.